Beneath the endless sky, the ocean whispers a tale older than memory. Waves rise and fall, carrying secrets no mortal tongue can hold. The sea has always been alive, listening, dreaming, remembering. In its heart dwells Poseidon, guardian of tides, keeper of balance. He walks not on land, but within currents, his steps made of foam and salt. Legends call him God, but the ocean calls him brother. Tonight, we sail not across waters, but through time itself. A story waits in the dark, coiled like a secret never spoken. It begins with a song, soft and strange, drifting between waves. Sailors hear it and shiver, though no danger touches their sails. They speak of a presence deep below, vast and eternal. It stirs the water, yet leaves the surface calm, almost kind. This is no monster of teeth, no shadow of fear. It is the Serpent Eternal, ancient as the first drop of rain, a being without end, woven into the ocean's own breath. Poseidon listens, for the sea trembles with memory. What awakens now is not chaos, but a calling. The tide turns, and our journey begins. Listen closely. The ocean remembers, and so must we. The sea is never silent, though its voice is often hidden beneath the crash of waves. Listen long enough, and you hear the undercurrent of whispers. They slip between tides, linger in foam, and echo against stone coasts. Sailors call them warnings, though no danger is seen on the horizon. They speak of voices drifting in the dark, a song no human mouth can shape. It is soft, haunting, and older than language itself. Some say it is the sea remembering, telling its endless story in broken notes. Others claim it is a call, meant for one listener alone. That listener is Poseidon, guardian of tides, master of the deep. He is not startled by whispers. He knows the ocean keeps its own tongue. Yet tonight, the sound reaches even him, clear as a conch held to the ear. It hums through the water, trembling against reefs and shells. The song is not sorrow, nor joy, but something between. A note of warning, a note of longing, braided together. The waves carry it across all horizons, from sunlit shallows to midnight abysses. Sailors on distant ships pause, sensing something vast beneath their keel. They share no words, but all feel the same shiver. For the sound is not of storm or whale, nor any creature they know. It is vast, endless, curling through time like smoke on still air. Poseidon listens, his trident resting upon sand carved by currents. The god is no stranger to omens. He has heard countless voices of sea and sky. But this one carries a weight heavier than tides, deeper than memory. It is the voice of something eternal, something that has always been awake. The song coils through his heart like a spiral of water without end. He recalls whispers from the oldest temples, carved into coral and stone. They spoke of a serpent that encircled the world, unseen, unending. A being not of destruction, but of return, of cycles without start or finish. Long forgotten by men, half remembered by gods, and alive in silence. Now the serpent stirs again, its song rising through black water like moonlight. Poseidon feels no fear, only recognition, as though meeting an old friend in shadow. The whispers reach him in fragments, like waves breaking on different shores. Each note reveals a memory the sea itself has carried for ages. A time when the serpent breathed alongside stars, weaving light into water. A time when oceans were young and every current sang its name. Mortals cannot hold such stories. They slip away like sand through fingers. But Poseidon can, for he is bound to the sea's endless memory. He closes his eyes, and the whispers shape themselves into meaning. Not words, but truths flowing like tide around stone. The serpent is not waking in anger. It is stirring in remembrance. The ocean has turned too many cycles, and balance must return. Its presence is vast, not in threat, but in necessity. Like gravity holds the stars, the serpent holds the sea together. Poseidon breathes with the rhythm of the song, steady, patient, listening. Around him, dolphins pause, sensing a shift in current and tone. Even coral polyps retreat into stone, as though bowing to unseen majesty. The water grows still, as if waiting for the next wordless phrase. The serpent's eternal hum echoes, weaving through every droplet. It tells of eternity coiled, of beginnings folded into endings. It speaks of the sea's true nature, endless, unbroken, whole. The sailors above cannot know this, yet their hearts sense it faintly. They light lanterns, not against darkness, but against uncertainty. Poseidon rises, his gaze cast into fathoms where eyes cannot see. He knows the journey has begun, a path drawn not on maps, but in currents. The whisper of tides will lead him deeper than ever before. For the serpent eternal waits, not in shadows of war, but in silence of truth. And Poseidon, guardian of seas, must learn why the ocean calls again. In the quiet halls of forgotten temples, the prophecy lingers like dust on stone. It is not written in ink, but carved in coral and tide-worn rock. Priests once sang it aloud, their voices echoing like bells beneath the sea. Few remember those words now, but the ocean has never forgotten them. The prophecy speaks of a serpent, endless and eternal, coiling through all time. It is not born, and it will never die, for it is the circle itself. When the waters tremble, its presence rises, reminding the world of balance. Not to destroy, not to devour, but to awaken what has long been asleep. Poseidon recalls those lines, carried to him by voices older than gods. The oracles of the deep whispered that day would come, when eternity stirs. Their eyes had turned pale as shells, as if seeing beyond the present. They spoke of storms that were not storms, of silence heavier than thunder. And at the center, the Serpent Eternal, neither foe nor friend, but truth. It waits in the fabric of creation, breathing where no lungs can breathe. Its song is the rhythm of tides, the heartbeat of the sea itself. Mortals cannot hold such visions. Their minds scatter like leaves in current. But Poseidon carries them, for he is bound to water's memory. He walks through caverns where murals shimmer faintly with bioluminescent paint. Each image shows a serpent coiled through stars, weaving sea and sky. Its body bends like rivers, its eyes glow like distant moons. One mural shows Poseidon himself, standing before the endless coil. He wonders if the artists knew him or only dreamed the god of sea. The prophecy tells not of battles, but of choices wrapped in tide. When eternity stirs, the keeper of seas must decide how to listen. Resist, and storms will rise without end, unanchored by balance. Accept, and the serpent will weave the waters whole again. Poseidon knows the weight of choice, heavier than any trident. The ocean is his kingdom, yet it belongs not to him alone. It belongs to time, to cycles, to the Serpent Eternal. The god lingers in silence, his hand resting on ancient stone. The carvings hum with the same song drifting through the tides. He feels the echo of oracles, long gone, but still alive in whispers. They speak not in words, but in the turning of currents around him. Every drop of water carries a fragment of the prophecy's truth. It is not an ending, nor a beginning, but a return. The serpent awakens not to rule, but to remind. Mortals fear what they cannot measure, Gods doubt what they cannot command. Yet the serpent asks neither fear nor worship, only recognition. Poseidon breathes deeply, his chest rising with the swell of tide. He knows the moment approaches, drawn by the call of prophecy. The sea trembles with anticipation, a world holding its breath. The god remembers the oracle's final line, spoken like a prayer. When the serpent sings, listen, for the sea remembers what men forget. The words echo now, carried by waves that touch every shore. Above, sailors chart stars, unaware they drift upon prophecy's surface. Below, the eternal serpent coils unseen, humming the truth of cycles. Poseidon stands at the threshold of choice, guided by whispers of old. The prophecy is no longer distant. It has arrived in the present tide. The Serpent Eternal waits, not in anger, but in inevitability. And Poseidon must step forward, not as conqueror, but as listener of the deep, far beneath the surface, where light dissolves into endless night. The serpent begins to stir. Its movement is not sudden, but slow, like the breath of mountains shifting undersea. The ocean does not roar, nor quake, but hums softly with anticipation. Currents bend around unseen coils, flowing in circles older than the moon. No mortal eye can see it. No lantern can pierce the abyss where it dwells. Yet its presence fills the water, vast and patient, as if eternity has weight. The Serpent Eternal does not rise with hunger, but with memory. It has been still for ages, folded within the silence of the deep. Now, a note drifts from its endless body, a vibration that ripples outward. It is not song as men know it, but a resonance, a truth carried on tide. The whales pause in their journey, listening with ancient ears. Schools of fish scatter, then circle back, as though drawn by invisible gravity. The coral trembles, tiny polyps feeling the pulse in their stony bones. All the sea listens, because all the sea belongs to the serpent's coil. Above, sailors sense nothing but calm waters and gentle winds. Yet beneath, the vast shape shifts, each scale shining like a hidden star. Its body curves beyond measure, one loop flowing into another without end. There is no head, no tail, only the eternal circle of being. To see it whole is impossible, for it is larger than thought itself. But its presence can be felt in the heart, like the weight of forever. Poseidon, far from the surface, feels the stirring keenly in his chest. The god knows this is no illusion, no dream born of restless tides. He hears the hum, low and deep, threading through the marrow of the sea. It speaks of cycles, of balance forgotten, of eternity reclaiming its place. Poseidon does not raise his trident, for this is not an enemy to strike. Instead, he opens his senses, letting the resonance pass through him like water. The serpent awakens not in violence, but in grace. Its motion is as fluid as time, as gentle as a tide upon sand. Each coil brushes against currents, shaping them, guiding them home. It is the silent architect of harmony, unseen but always present. Mortals call storms chaotic, but the serpent knows storms are only part of rhythm. Mortals call waves destructive, but the serpent knows waves are the breath of the sea. Everything returns, everything flows, everything repeats. That is the serpent's truth, endless and unbroken. The ocean itself seems to sigh, as if relieved by its stirring. For too long, the balance has tilted, cycles broken by forgetfulness. Now the serpent rises to remind all things of what they are. It does not seek worship nor fear, but remembrance. To be forgotten is to fade, and eternity cannot fade. Poseidon closes his eyes, seeing without sight, feeling without touch. The serpent's hum twines around him, steady as heartbeat, vast as cosmos. It tells him of beginnings hidden in endings, of endings that bloom as beginnings. The god listens, patient, for listening is the only key. No battle can reveal this truth. No weapon can shape eternity. Only stillness, only awareness, only acceptance. The serpent drifts nearer, though distance has no meaning in the abyss. One coil brushes near Poseidon, its scales gleaming faintly like constellations. There is no malice in the gesture, only recognition, ancient and profound. For the serpent knows Poseidon as it knows every drop of sea. It remembers when the world was water, when gods were yet unborn. And it hums that memory now, pressing it gently into Poseidon's soul. The god bows his head, not in fear, but in reverence. The sea has spoken, and its voice is eternal. The serpent awakens, vast and silent, carrying the weight of forever. And the ocean, from shallow shore to darkest trench, listens in awe. Poseidon lingers in silence, standing upon a plain of sand that stretches without end. The ocean around him hums with life, yet his mind drifts inward, deeper than any trench. He has faced storms, earthquakes, and tempests, but this moment feels heavier than all. The serpent does not roar nor threaten, yet its presence weighs upon him like destiny. He wonders if strength alone is enough to answer the call that rises from the abyss. For gods are often seen as rulers, but guardianship is not command, it is service. He recalls the early days when seas were unshaped, restless and wild without direction. Then his trident carved channels for rivers, guided waves, and gave calm to shores. He thought himself master, but now he sees he was only a caretaker of cycles. The serpent's hum teaches him this, reminding him of the endless flow of return. He asks himself quietly, am I protector, or am I one who only listens? The thought unsettles him, for listening feels smaller than ruling, yet truer. He remembers whispers from gods of sky and earth, who doubted the sea's silence. They called him Stormbringer, Wave Crasher, Lord of Chaos, forgetting his gentler hand. But the serpent does not name him Lord, nor bow, nor resist. It merely hums, and in that sound, he feels both question and answer. Is his role to command the waters, or to move with their eternal rhythm? Poseidon gazes upward, seeing faint shafts of light dissolve into the vast dark. He knows mortals believe him unshakable, but even gods can feel doubt. The serpent awakens not to challenge his power, but to test his understanding. Balance is not built on strength alone, but on harmony freely chosen. The god kneels, pressing his palm to the seabed, feeling currents weave through his fingers. They twist and turn, always returning, always whole, never ending. The serpent's truth flows through him, reshaping his heart like tide-shaped stone. He remembers a story, told once by an oracle in words like waves breaking. The sea is not a crown to wear, but a song to keep in tune. At the time, he dismissed it as riddle, but now the meaning shines clear. A ruler who clings too tightly drowns his own kingdom in his grip. A guardian who listens, however, keeps the kingdom breathing, alive and eternal. The serpent stirs again, its coils shifting gently, releasing a low, endless hum. The sound folds into Poseidon's chest, heavy yet soothing, like memory of home. It tells him, to guide is not to command. To protect is not to conquer. He feels humbled, smaller than eternity, yet more complete than before. Around him, the sea creatures linger, waiting as though witnesses to revelation. Dolphins circle in slow arcs, whales sing quietly, shells vibrate with subtle tones. Even the smallest fish carries the serpent's rhythm in the flick of its tail. Poseidon rises slowly, no longer holding his trident as a weapon, but as a staff. He knows his strength is vast, but strength without wisdom fractures balance. The serpent reminds him that eternity cares not for crowns, only for cycles kept. He exhales, letting go of the need to dominate the waters that birthed him. The sea is not his possession. It is his kin, his eternal companion. He bows his head to the unseen coil, an act not of surrender, but of respect. The serpent hums softer, as though answering with approval unspoken. And Poseidon feels the tides within him shift, aligning with deeper truth. What lies ahead is not battle, but a journey of learning and remembrance. The Serpent Eternal has awakened not to overthrow, but to remind. Poseidon, guardian of tides, must now walk the path of listener and guide. And as the ocean sighs around him, he accepts the role he was always meant to hold. The ocean stretched wide and endless, yet Poseidon felt its silence deepen with every passing tide. Currents curled gently around him, bearing whispers that seemed older than the stars above. He knew the serpent's hum had shifted something vast, not only in the sea, but within himself. Balance was no longer an idea to enforce, but a truth he must live, moment by moment. Still, questions lingered, rising like bubbles from unseen depths, delicate yet unrelenting. What was the serpent's purpose in awakening now, after countless eons of slumber? Why did the ocean itself tremble as though waiting for him to act? He walked across the seabed, trident glowing faintly, casting long shadows upon the sand. Each step stirred memories, as though the ocean wished to remind him of forgotten chapters. He recalled islands rising from fire, then sinking again beneath hungry waves. He remembered rivers carving their paths, feeding life into valleys and fertile shores. Every motion, every change, was a cycle, never an end, always a continuation. The serpent was no stranger to these cycles, but perhaps its voice marked a new turn. Above him, whales drifted in solemn formation, their songs echoing faintly through the waters. Their voices blended with the serpent's hum, forming harmonies that shook the seabed. It was not chaos, but music, not battle but chorus, each note carrying timeless truth. Poseidon listened, letting the sound weave through his spirit like threads of memory. In the harmony, he heard a call, not of command, but of invitation. It urged him to listen deeper, beyond sound, beyond form, into meaning itself. Closing his eyes, he let go of thought, surrendering to the ocean's rhythm. For a moment, he felt himself dissolve into the tides, neither god nor guardian, just current. He flowed with whales, with fish, with the smallest grains of sand rolling in waves. In that unity, he touched eternity, a silence more powerful than thunder. And there, hidden within the silence, he felt the serpent's gaze upon him, not a gaze of challenge, but of knowing, patient and infinite. It spoke without words, and yet its meaning struck deeper than language. Guardian, you are not apart from the sea. You are the sea remembering itself. The truth struck him, shattering the illusion of separation he had long carried. His power was never his own, but a reflection of the ocean's vast song. The trident was no crown, no weapon. It was merely a vessel of connection. He opened his eyes, seeing currents dance with new clarity, every swirl alive with intent. Coral glowed faintly, shells shimmered, even the sand hummed with resonance. Everything breathed with the serpent's eternal rhythm, and he finally understood. The The serpent was not awakening to act. It was awakening to remind. To remind him, and through him, all who touch the sea, of their place in the cycle. A cycle not of dominance, but of harmony, endless and eternal. Poseidon raised his trident, not in defiance, but in acknowledgement of this truth. The sea answered with a rush of light, currents spiraling outward like radiant threads. Fish darted joyfully, dolphins leaped, and even the whales sang louder in response. It was as though the ocean itself exhaled, relieved that he had finally remembered. For too long, gods had sought crowns and dominion, forgetting the gentle art of balance. Now, Poseidon stood not as a ruler, but as a listener, a keeper of harmony. The serpent's hum softened, yet lingered, carrying a promise through the waves. This was not the end of revelation, but the beginning of a longer journey. A journey where Poseidon would learn not only to guard, but to listen without end. As the tides shifted around him, he felt lighter, no longer burdened, but renewed. The sea, vast and eternal, no longer asked for his command, only his presence. And in that presence, Poseidon felt what it truly meant to be eternal. The tides shifted, carrying Poseidon deeper into the realm where light rarely touched the waters. Here, silence reigned supreme. Yet it was not emptiness, but fullness, a quiet brimming with presence. The serpent's hum lingered in his chest, steady as the heartbeat of the sea itself. Each vibration guided him further, as though the ocean had chosen his path long before. He followed, not with command, but with listening, each step woven into the current's will. The seabed glowed faintly, not with fire, but with the breath of ancient corals still alive. They pulsed like stars beneath the waves, forming constellations only the deep could understand. Every shimmer told a fragment of story, every light a memory waiting to be recalled. Poseidon slowed, for he felt the weight of those memories pressing upon him gently. It was as though the sea wished to show him not the future, but its eternal past. He saw visions flicker, the first rains falling upon barren earth, birthing the earliest seas. He saw rivers carving valleys, life trembling awake in shallow tide pools. He saw storms wild and unshaped until the serpent's hum wove balance into the chaos. The serpent was not a creature apart, but a song stretching across time itself. It had been present when waters first formed, and it would remain until the last tide. Poseidon's breath slowed as he realized his guardianship was part of that same song. He was not its master, but its echo, entrusted to remember what the ocean could not say aloud. The serpent's hum grew louder, though still calm, wrapping around him like a cloak of sound. It was then he noticed the creatures of the deep gathering in silence around him. They were beings of shadow and glow, eyes gleaming like lanterns in endless night. Giant rays spread their wings, drifting like clouds, while schools of tiny fish shimmered in patterns. Each movement echoed the serpent's rhythm, as though they too remembered the eternal song. Poseidon understood. This was no summoning of power, but a gathering of witnesses. The sea itself bore witness to the shift in his heart, the turning of his role. The serpent's voice carried not a warning, but a lesson meant for all who dwell in the tide. Balance was not a task for gods alone, but a harmony shared by every living wave. Poseidon raised his trident slowly, and for the first time, it felt weightless in his grasp. The metal shimmered faintly, no longer as a weapon, but as a tuning fork of the sea. He struck it gently against the seabed, and the notes spread like ripples of light. The whales above answered with low songs, the dolphins echoed in playful trills. Even the smallest shells trembled, releasing tones that blended seamlessly into the whole. It was a symphony not of conquest, but of remembrance, harmony made audible. The serpent's hum deepened, weaving through the chorus like the thread of eternity. Poseidon felt tears form, though they dissolved instantly into the salt of the sea. For the first time, he knew what it meant to be at peace within boundless power. Not to rule, not to bend, but to be part of something too vast for dominion. The chorus swelled, until the ocean itself seemed to breathe with him in perfect rhythm. He realized then that the serpent's awakening was not an end, but a beginning. It was the reminder that eternity does not move forward. It flows in circles without end. Every tide returning, every wave repeating, every song resung, yet never the same. Poseidon bowed his head, not in defeat but in unity, a gesture of harmony. The serpent's form shimmered faintly in the darkness, vast coils stretching into forever. Its eyes glowed, not fierce but calm, as if affirming his place in the endless cycle. He did not fear it, nor seek to master it, for it was not meant to be mastered. It was meant to be remembered, honored, carried like the tide itself within his soul. As the vision faded, Poseidon felt the ocean's pulse steady, calm, and eternal once more. The creatures of the deep dispersed slowly, their part in the chorus complete for now. Yet the resonance lingered, a promise that the song would continue without end. Poseidon turned, carrying the hum within him, no longer questioning, only listening. And in that listening, he found strength purer than storms, truer than crowns. The journey was far from over, but now he walked it with the sea as his eternal companion. The sea grew brighter as Poseidon drifted upward, leaving the deep silence behind. Light filtered gently through waves, scattering into ribbons that danced across his shoulders. It felt as though the ocean itself wished to guide him toward something waiting above. He followed, each movement measured, his heart still carrying the serpent's low hum. That sound had not left him, nor would it ever. It was now part of his soul. When he broke through the higher currents, he found the waters alive with new energy. Schools of fish shimmered like woven silver, darting in intricate, perfect patterns. Their movements were no accident. They followed a rhythm only the sea could compose. Poseidon paused, realizing the serpent's hum had spread far beyond the depths. Every creature seemed attuned to it, their motions shaped by the same eternal song. Even the kelp swayed in deliberate arcs, as though bowing to unseen music. The guardian of tides felt awe, not at power, but at harmony made visible. He drifted among them, watching patterns unfold, each more complex than the last. It was not chaos, nor command. It was collaboration, a balance no throne could enforce. He whispered to himself, "The sea is a choir, and I am only one voice." The words dissolved instantly, yet the ocean seemed to echo them in return. Dolphins approached, circling him playfully, their clicks and whistles blending with the song. One brushed against his hand, and Poseidon felt its heartbeat match the serpent's rhythm. The connection startled him, not from fear, but from the intimacy of shared truth. In that moment, he realized the serpent's lesson was not meant for him alone. It was for all who touched the waters, god, mortal, or creature of the tide. Balance could not be carried by a single guardian. It had to be lived by all. He drifted toward the surface, where sunlight stretched golden fingers into the sea. The horizon called him, vast and endless, whispering of new shores and stories. He rose until the waves parted, revealing a sky painted with clouds and light. For a moment, he simply breathed, inhaling the salt air as if for the first time. The hum of the serpent still echoed, but now it blended with the song of the wind. The world above and the world below were not separate, but two halves of one truth. Poseidon gazed at the distant line where sea met sky, a place mortals called horizon. He felt it was not a boundary, but a bridge, a promise of cycles unbroken. Seabirds soared overhead, their cries sharp yet woven into the same eternal music. The sea was alive in every form, and he was witness to its unity. His trident gleamed, not with command, but with reflection, carrying the light of both worlds. He thought of mortals who sailed these waters, fearing storms, praising calm tides. They knew only fragments of the sea's song, yet they too were part of it. Perhaps, he realized, the serpent's awakening was also a reminder for them, to see the ocean not as danger or dominion, but as kin, as cycle, as song. Poseidon lowered his gaze, watching waves lap gently against his arms and chest. Every drop shimmered with memory, every ripple whispered of eternity. He had carried storms, but now he carried stillness, and it felt stronger than any tempest. A sense of purpose swelled within him, vast yet gentle, clear as the tides return. He would not impose this harmony with thunder, but reveal it through presence and patience. The serpent had shown him that eternity thrives, not on power, but on remembrance. As the sun sank lower, painting the horizon with gold and fire, Poseidon listened. The ocean beneath and the sky above answered in one voice, unified and eternal. He closed his eyes, letting the sound carry him, not forward, but deeper into truth. The journey was not about distance, but about resonance, about carrying the song always. When he opened his eyes again, the sea felt different, yet it was unchanged. It was he who had changed, seeing its endless face with new clarity. And so, with the serpent's hum as his compass, Poseidon began to move once more. Where the tides would take him, he did not know, but he no longer feared the path. The sea grew brighter as Poseidon drifted upward, leaving the deep silence behind. Light filtered gently through waves, scattering into ribbons that danced across his shoulders. It felt as though the ocean itself wished to guide him toward something waiting above. He followed, each movement measured, his heart still carrying the serpent's low hum. That sound had not left him, nor would it ever. It was now part of his soul. When he broke through the higher currents, he found the waters alive with new energy. Schools of fish shimmered like woven silver, darting in intricate, perfect patterns. Their movements were no accident. They followed a rhythm only the sea could compose. Poseidon paused, realizing the serpent's hum had spread far beyond the depths. Every creature seemed attuned to it, their motions shaped by the same eternal song. Even the kelp swayed in deliberate arcs, as though bowing to unseen music. The guardian of tides felt awe, not at power, but at harmony made visible. He drifted among them, watching patterns unfold, each more complex than the last. It was not chaos, nor command. It was collaboration, a balance no throne could enforce. He whispered to himself, "The sea is a choir, and I am only one voice." The words dissolved instantly, yet the ocean seemed to echo them in return. Dolphins approached, circling him playfully, their clicks and whistles blending with the song. One brushed against his hand, and Poseidon felt its heartbeat match the serpent's rhythm. The connection startled him, not from fear, but from the intimacy of shared truth. In that moment, he realized the serpent's lesson was not meant for him alone. It was for all who touched the waters, God, mortal or creature of the tide. Balance could not be carried by a single guardian. It had to be lived by all. He drifted toward the surface, where sunlight stretched golden fingers into the sea. The horizon called him, vast and endless, whispering of new shores and stories. He rose until the waves parted, revealing a sky painted with clouds and light. For a moment, he simply breathed, inhaling the salt air as if for the first time. The hum of the serpent still echoed, but now it blended with the song of the wind. The world above and the world below were not separate, but two halves of one truth. Poseidon gazed at the distant line where sea met sky, a place mortals called horizon. He felt it was not a boundary, but a bridge, a promise of cycles unbroken. Seabirds soared overhead, their cries sharp yet woven into the same eternal music. The sea was alive in every form, and he was witness to its unity. His trident gleamed, not with command, but with reflection, carrying the light of both worlds. He thought of mortals who sailed these waters, fearing storms, praising calm tides. They knew only fragments of the sea's song, yet they too were part of it. Perhaps, he realized, the serpent's awakening was also a reminder for them, to see the ocean not as danger or dominion, but as kin, a cycle, a song. Poseidon lowered his gaze, watching waves lap gently against his arms and chest. Every drop shimmered with memory, every ripple whispered of eternity. He had carried storms, but now he carried stillness, and it felt stronger than any tempest. A sense of purpose swelled within him, vast yet gentle, clear as the tide's return. He would not impose this harmony with thunder, but reveal it through presence and patience. The serpent had shown him that eternity thrives not on power, but on remembrance. As the sun sank lower, painting the horizon with gold and fire, Poseidon listened. The ocean beneath and the sky above answered in one voice, unified and eternal. He closed his eyes, letting the sound carry him, not forward, but deeper into truth. The journey was not about distance, but about resonance, about carrying the song always. When he opened his eyes again, the sea felt different, yet it was unchanged. It was he who had changed, seeing its endless face with new clarity. And so, with the serpent's hum as his compass, Poseidon began to move once more. Where the tides would take him, he did not know, but he no longer feared the path. The night sky stretched endless above, its stars reflected in the calm surface of the sea. Poseidon drifted silently, his trident resting across his knees as if it too sought rest. The serpent's hum still lingered, weaving through him like a current too subtle to resist. Yet now, the song felt softer, blending with the pulse of the world around him. He realized he was no longer only a listener, but also a carrier of the melody. The sea, vast and eternal, had etched its truth into his spirit with quiet persistence. He thought of the countless lives hidden beneath the waves, each sustained by the same rhythm. Tiny shells clung to rocks, great whales glided through the depths, all attuned to balance. The serpent had shown him this harmony, but it was his task to nurture it. He lifted his gaze to the horizon where night met water, a line of infinite mystery. A wind brushed over the waves, bringing with it whispers from distant shores. Mortals, he thought, walked so briefly on earth. Yet they too were woven into this song. Their ships cut across the water, their prayers rose into the air, always seeking connection. They feared storms and revered calm, not knowing both were faces of the same truth. Poseidon sighed, his breath merging with the mist, gentle as a lullaby. He wondered if they could learn, not through fear, but through reverence for the sea's cycle. As he pondered, the sea responded with a ripple, as though answering his thoughts. From beneath the waves, dolphins leapt, slicing the surface with playful arcs. Their joy carried no weight of throne or crown, only the freedom of belonging. They reminded him of the serpent's teaching. Eternity was not dominion, but connection. He let his hand skim the water, feeling its cool embrace spread through his fingers. Each drop carried memory, perhaps of storms long past or calm mornings yet to come. It struck him that water remembered everything. It was the archive of time itself. Mortals believed stone and scrolls held history, yet the sea preserved far more. Every tide carried whispers from ages before. Every current bore the voices of tomorrow. He leaned back, closing his eyes, allowing the hum to draw him deeper into thought. The serpent had awakened him, but awakening was only the first step of the path. What mattered now was how he would walk it, or rather, how he would drift with it. A sudden cry broke the stillness. A seabird circling high above. It swooped low, wings grazing the water, before soaring back into the sky. Poseidon followed its flight, marveling at how freely it bridged sea and sky. The bird knew no separation, only continuity, as though it sang both realms together. In that moment, Poseidon realized his role was not to command, but to connect. He was a bridge, like the horizon itself, like the song that joined all beings. His trident pulsed faintly with light, reflecting stars and waves alike. He held it not as a weapon, but as a symbol of presence, patience, and remembrance. The hum of the serpent grew stronger again, not loud but steady, grounding him. He understood it was not fading nor rising, but constant, eternal, dependable as the tide. It was not meant to guide his every step, but to remind him of balance. With that realization, he felt lighter, as though the sea itself had shared its burden. He drifted, content, no longer rushing to find destiny, but listening to the journey. The night deepened, and the stars shimmered like 1,000 eyes, watching kindly. He knew he was not alone, never truly, for the song tied him to all. The serpent had given him no command, no demand, only remembrance of unity. And that, Poseidon thought, was the greatest gift any guardian could receive. He opened his eyes to the vast night, calm and sure, ready for what lay ahead. The dawn rose gently, painting the sea with colors that seemed to bloom from the water itself. Poseidon drifted beneath the surface, watching light scatter into 1,000 shifting fragments. It was as if the sky had poured its soul into the ocean, uniting above and below. The serpent's hum stirred again, not loud but steady, threading through the rhythm of waves. He followed the sound deeper, carried not by urgency, but by the patience of the tide. Every current seemed to guide him, every ripple a reminder that no path was walked alone. Soon he came upon a reef, vast and intricate, alive with colors and hidden voices. Corals branched like ancient forests, sheltering creatures that darted with vibrant brilliance. Schools of fish spun in spirals, weaving shapes that mimicked constellations in the sky. Poseidon watched with reverence, sensing the sea's eternal balance woven into each movement. The reef pulsed with life, yet every being played only its part, never taking too much. It was a song of coexistence, fragile yet enduring, delicate yet stronger than storms. He reached out, brushing coral gently, and felt the hum of the serpent within it. It resonated through stone and shell, proving eternity lay not only in vastness, but in detail. The smallest lives, unnoticed by mortals, carried the same rhythm as gods and tides. Poseidon closed his eyes, breathing in the silence between sounds, learning its language. It told him that eternity is not measured by years, but by harmony carried forward. As he lingered, a sea turtle approached, gliding with unhurried grace through the reef. Its shell bore marks of time, etched like maps of journeys across endless oceans. The turtle paused before him, eyes deep and calm, holding no fear of the god. In its gaze, Poseidon read wisdom far older than his own throne or trident. He bowed his head slightly, acknowledging the creature not as subject but as kin. The turtle drifted onward, disappearing into coral shadows, yet leaving peace in its wake. Poseidon realized then that wisdom did not thunder or demand. It moved quietly, like tides. The serpent's hum deepened, echoing the lesson, binding it into his memory forever. As he rose from the reef, sunlight broke the surface in golden cascades above. He drifted upward slowly, unwilling to disturb the perfect rhythm he had witnessed. The ocean felt vaster than before, not in distance, but in the depth of its truth. He whispered softly, "I am not its master, only its guardian, and its student still." The words melted into water, yet the sea seemed to embrace them in silent reply. Breaking the surface, Poseidon inhaled air filled with warmth, touched by dawn's first light. Seabirds wheeled above, their cries sharp and clear, blending into the serpent's song. The horizon glowed, endless and new, promising more lessons, more voices, yet unheard. He floated, suspended between sea and sky, carrying both realms within his chest. For the first time in memory, he felt not bound by duty, but freed by understanding. The serpent's hum faded to stillness, not because it was gone, but because it was everywhere. It had become the sea itself, woven into every wave, every heartbeat, every breath. Poseidon smiled faintly, knowing he did not need to seek it anymore. It would always remain. What mattered now was how he lived the song, not how loudly he sang it. The sea rolled gently beneath him, whispering stories that stretched across eternity. And he listened, truly listened, as guardian, as wanderer, as one voice among many. The dawn continued to rise, its light carried by waves, promising journeys yet to come. The sea lay calm, stretching into infinity, its surface shimmering beneath the watch of the fading sun. Poseidon stood still upon the waves, feeling the weight of silence settle like a gentle cloak. The serpent's hum had quieted, not in absence, but in transformation into the sea's every sound. He closed his eyes, listening, and found that he could no longer separate song from silence. Both were one, inseparable, weaving the same eternal thread that bound past and future. He breathed deeply, letting salt air fill him, each breath a reminder of his belonging. For so long, he had carried storms, wielding thunder, commanding tides with sovereign will. Now he understood that true guardianship was not control but communion, not demand but listening. He gazed at the horizon, the line where sky kissed sea, and saw no boundary at all. It was endless, a bridge unbroken, just as the serpent had whispered in its timeless hum. He thought of mortals who sailed these waters, their fragile ships rising and falling with the tide. They too carried pieces of the song, even if they did not yet know its full measure. Their prayers for safety, their joy in calm seas, their awe at storms, all were part of it. Poseidon felt tenderness toward them, not as ruler to subject, but as kin to kin. The sea held them as it held him, not with power, but with an embrace of belonging. He lowered his trident, planting it gently into the waves, not as weapon, but as witness. The sea shimmered in response, a glow rising from its depths like memory made visible. It was not thunder nor spectacle, but a quiet affirmation that balance had been understood. He whispered, "I am not eternal alone, but with you, with all, forever bound." The ocean answered, not in words, but in rhythm. The pull of tides, the beat of waves. The serpent's hum rose again, soft and steady, no longer separate but within everything. It was the sea's breath, the heart of eternity, pulsing gently, endlessly, without beginning or end. Poseidon smiled, a quiet smile, knowing he had become part of that hum as well. He did not rise above it, nor sink beneath it. He was simply within, as all were. The sun lowered, painting the water with gold and fire, until sea and sky became one. Birds soared across the horizon, their wings carrying songs that wove into the eternal rhythm. Far below, whales sang in deep voices, echoing truths older than even gods remembered. Every sound, every silence, every breath of wind was part of the same endless music. Poseidon opened his arms, letting the sea wash through him, letting himself dissolve into belonging. He no longer needed to seek meaning, for meaning had always been the sea itself. The serpent had not come to test or command him, but to remind him of what was. Eternity was not a throne, nor a storm, but a cycle of voices rising and returning. He whispered once more, softer now, "I am not master of the sea, but its child." The waves carried his words outward, scattering them like seeds across endless waters. Somewhere they would reach a mortal ship, a distant shore, a quiet reef, a newborn tide. And there they would take root, unseen but enduring, part of the eternal memory of the sea. The sky darkened as stars emerged, their light mirrored in the vast calm beneath. Poseidon felt both small and infinite, a single note in the song, yet the song entire. He let go of fear, of burden, of crown, keeping only the hum that tied him to all. The sea would continue, as it always had, as it always would, carrying every voice within. And Poseidon, guardian no longer by command but by kinship, drifted with it, timeless and free.